name's Jasmine and I have decided to document my life. So to introduce myself, Jasmine, 30, I'm 30, I think, I definitely am. And I live with my fiance. I have a few hobbies, if you could call them that, and I have a few things I enjoy doing. I work full time, I love my job, and we have just recently moved house to here, which is absolutely beautiful, and I love where we live. However, I am a creature of habit and I love routine for many different reasons. I just like to feel like everything's planned in place and I'm doing pretty much the same thing every single day. However, moving has caused just a tiny bit of instability and I am not someone who does very well with that. So routines out the window, gone, never to be seen again. And my plan is to bring back routine, but to focus on some areas that specifically I know will make me feel better. I historically have been quite good at planning, putting things into place. There's just a few things I feel like I'm missing. I'm 30, I'm trying to understand myself a bit better, and I'm trying to find things that I enjoy. And there's just a few gaps I'm trying to fill. My plan is, within this video, is to look at what I currently do, what works for me, and what do I need to do. Now, would like to preface this with, I'm not someone who's a really big fan of crying culture. I know myself, I'm not someone who can stack up too many things. So therefore it's going to be under the premise of 1% better every day. And mainly, a little is better than not at all. So this isn't going to be commitments where I'm like, I must do this 1,000 times a week. It might just be once, or it might be once a month, or it might just be, I'll do 1 minute of that each day, or I'll do 1 minute of that a week. It works better for me. I'm not someone who can go all in, because as soon as I don't do the thing I promise myself I'll do, I will avoid it. With that, we'll go through what's working for me right now. About a year and a half ago, I decided to do the thing that everyone does before they enter their 30s and take up running. I love running. I am not the fastest. I definitely don't run the furthest. I'm what I like to call myself a bit of a lazy runner. I'm there for the experience. I'm not there to, I don't know, compete or do anything like that. Now, I am a big fan of races, not because I'm fast, but because I like getting a medal. I just want to get a medal. And the thing is, I pay for that medal by paying to be a part of the race, but I love it. I set myself a goal at the beginning of the year to do 2 races. So far, I've done 1. I enjoyed it. It was something new. It was a trail race. Will I do it again? 100%. I will always approach those very gently. I'm not there to come in the top 10. I'm there to just finish. And I quite like just finishing and getting a medal. But that one didn't include a medal. So maybe not that. Maybe one that includes a medal. Although I do think you could get, what was it? Some sort of dessert. 2 years ago, because I have endometriosis, don't we all, girls? Don't we all? I had surgery and it was really beneficial for me. It reduced my pain significantly, but this also ties into why I need good routine, because I need good sleep to avoid pain. I need to eat a certain way, not looking for a calorie deficit or not looking to make foods good or bad, because foods have no morals. But I have to do things a certain way to maintain a certain level of quality of life, which sounds a bit far out, but it's probably the best way to put it. So all of those things work for me. However, when we started to move house, I wasn't running as much. So my movement dropped significantly, which is absolutely fine. And the situation called for it, but I feel the difference in my body and in my brain. I'm a runner for my mental health, not for my physical health, because I would be more caring towards my knees if that was the case. And I wasn't eating very well. It was quick, convenient food because I didn't want to buy a whole food shop knowing we were going to move soon. And I'm one of those people who's an ingredients household. I've never been like, I have something tucked away that's quite convenient for me to make. Everything takes like 3 hours, which it's something I enjoy doing, but when you're moving house and you need stability, it's not something that suits you very well. Eating fell off, which I can tell a difference because my pain gets worse. I'm not moving as much, which isn't as good for my brain, probably nor my body. And then in addition to that, all the other lovely habits I keep fell over. I am a planner. I write and I plan. And My brain likes that. I know what I'm going to be doing the next day. I know what I need to do in the next hour. And it requires very little thinking. It's more just doing, and that works for me. So that's the background. We now go into the 5 categories of things I would like to improve upon in general and how I feel like I'm going to do it. So the 5 things I want to look at or approach, maybe is the better word, is hobbies, food, finance, interpersonal relationships, and my environment. Now, I've already outlined that I have a few hobbies. I'm not going to drop running, I'm not going to increase running, I'm just going to maintain what is about 3 to 4 runs a week, or 20 kilometers is usually my aim, 20 to 25, split over however many runs, but it's a maximum of 4 because I just don't get enough recovery time. Those elite runners who are running like 7 times a week are magnificent, and I am in awe of them, but I work full time and I need something that fits around me, and that's the best way to get it to fit around me. My priority was to bring in something creative because I feel like it would be quite meditative for me. But then if it's challenging, how meditative can it be? You know, but it's an opportunity to learn a new skill and to invest in something that may be really good for me. However, that means I've got to try before I buy. So first things first is this. This, I believe, is a very creative art form. And by this, I mean video and everything, which could be stressful, could be difficult. It's something new. I get to learn it. Not only do I get to learn this process that we're doing right now, but I also get to learn the aspects of editing or creating a thumbnail. Now, I'm explicitly going to stay with YouTube. I just don't think I could, I don't have TikTok. I bet it's phenomenal. Or it's not. I don't really know. I have Instagram, which is like TikTok 5 years later. So someone releases something, I see it 5 years later. But I love YouTube, and I find YouTube, I'll put it on whilst I'm doing something, maybe cooking or maybe doing weights, and I find it really nice to have on in the background. I like lifestyle stuff, and that's why we're here. What I'm really looking for then is more of a creative hobby. I've never been a very artsy person. I find it incredible that people are very creative people. With that, one of my creative hobbies I'm going to try out is going to be this. The second one I'd like to try would be something a little bit more you do with your hands, kind of creative. So that would be pottery painting, or alternatively sewing. I really want to sew. Don't know what I want to sew. Might just be a cushion. Might be a dress for a dog. Might be a full outfit for me. Who knows? But I want to try. But here's the thing. I'm one of those people that does not invest in a hobby until I've committed to the hobby for a certain span of time. So the way that will look in these contexts are, I need to video something for a month, not an entire month. That would be a horrifically long video, and no one would probably watch that. Whereas with sewing, I wouldn't want to purchase a sewing machine, but I would look at something secondhand or asking for a favour from a friend or a family member to see if I could borrow a sewing machine, maybe get one pattern, buy some cheap material and see how that looks for me. With regards to the pottery painting, where I live, there's actually one up the road. They do like an event once a month, and my plan is to attend that within the next month. You will see that. What I have tried, because I've been thinking about the creative hobby, is I did a paint by numbers, which was phenomenal. I would come home from work, I would go for a run, and then I'd make dinner and sit down, and whilst dinner was cooking, I'd do the paint by numbers. There was nothing that was more pleasant for my brain than that. It was an absolute delight. However, I want to keep searching until I find the thing that really suits me. I will show you it. Everyone be impressed. Ta-da! My God, a work of art. Beautiful. Now, don't get me wrong. I love paint by numbers. I had the time of my life. But when you're near the end, you should put whatever colour wherever you want to put it. I don't care if it's 3 or 4 or 5. I think 7 looks great there. I'm going to put 7 there because it just got fiddly. And I don't want to invest too much money, as I've mentioned. And I got this in a charity shop, and it was about £3, £4. So where possible, I'm going to purchase stuff from charity shops, because I know you can get, like, for sewing, you can get the stencil things or whatever I just called them, more often than not in charity shops. So that's where I'll look. In terms of another creative or additional hobby, is reading. I love reading. I also have the attention of a spoon. So if something's shiny or more attractive, i.e. my phone, I will more than likely pick that up after I've read like 2 pages. And at the moment, I'm reading the Dark Towers series with my sister. I'm about 3.5 books in, She is about 4, nearly 5. I am behind. And as my sister is very similar to me, she's a planner, I've been given a schedule where I have to get up to certain points of the book by, and I've not been sticking to that or committing to that. Moving had a big impact on it, but inevitably I haven't fallen back into the habit of doing it. The way I've originally or historically done it is I've scheduled 20 pages once a week. I find that 20 pages is enough to entice me to read because it doesn't feel like a huge amount to read. But more often than not, when I'm 20 pages in, I want to continue reading because I've got myself into that mindset. So I need to revisit that. So my plan is that the 20 pages a week will make a comeback. I will tell you how I find that series. I'm personally loving it thus far. I love Stephen King. I've always been a Stephen King girly. He can be a little bit controversial, and I may eat my words, but I do enjoy his books. There's some themes that I'm not a huge fan of, but more often than not, I really enjoy the books. So I'm going to continue with that, and that will be once a week, 20 pages. My final hobby is I'm going to continue to run, as I've mentioned, and I'm going to continue fitness. So although I run 3 to 4 times a week, I do weights twice a week, which sounds quite dense, heavy when you put it together, but I usually aim for just 5 days of exercise a week. When I say I do weights, I do not go to the gym. Don't get me wrong, I love a gym. I just don't think it's affordable. And as I've mentioned, I'm trying to do everything without having to splash a load of cash at it. I purchased weights like 1.5 years ago that we have in the house. It's nothing special, it's literally off Amazon, but it does what it needs to do, and I will literally put a YouTube video on there and stand in front of the TV and do a 20-minute workout. It's incredibly convenient, it's attainable for me. However, with all of the instability, the weights fell off first, and they tend to, because I don't enjoy it as much as I enjoy running. People who do weights and only weights, you have some of the best brains I've ever come across, because there's just not enough stimulation for me, especially if you do it in a gym. Incredible. I want that kind of brain power. I would like to bring stretching back in because I am 30, I get aches and pains, it can be quite stressful on my body, and so I need to bring back stretching, which will be once a week. Nothing intense, nothing that I can't commit to, once a week, and it usually follows weights. I don't warm up or cool down on a run. It's a very bad habit, so I'm hoping the stretching once a week will do me better off. And again, very small commitment. It might only be 5 minutes of stretching, or 2 minutes or a minute, but it's better than me not doing it at all. But fitness really doesn't change. I'm just bringing back old habits. My next one is food, as I mentioned. Now, again, I'm not one for calorie counting. I'm not trying to look to make myself a certain size or a certain shape. This is food more in the context of enjoyment. I've always loved cooking. I had grown up around a stepfather who is an incredible cook, like amazing, technically fantastic. And it inspired me to enjoy cooking, and I've always enjoyed it since I was very, very young. I'm no chef, but I really enjoy it. I found as I got older, cooking has become more of a means to an end rather than like a source of enjoyment through the process. And what I'd like to do is reignite the love that I had for it, because that is something that leans back into the hobbies and being creative, but it's something that I find very core to me. I enjoy feeding people. If someone comes around to my house, there is always food out. I hate the idea of anyone going hungry. And equally, I love the creativeness that sits behind food. I like flavour combinations. I like to try as much as possible. So I have 2 cookbooks that I started using probably about 6 months ago. My aim was to work through them. However, that also fell off. So my plan now is to work through one of them. I've selected the fresh one that's from Mob, and it only is 1 recipe from it a week. And that's it. It's not every single night trying something new because I work, I have other things on, I can't commit to that. And also at the same time, these recipes can be rather expensive. I've done this previously and it worked really, really well. It's also an opportunity to eat less meat. I'm not a huge fan of meat, but my partner loves meat. So we tend to eat a lot of it during the week. I like the idea that these fresh books predominantly sit more on the vegetarian side. So with that, I would be incorporating more veggie-based meals, and he's agreed to 1 veggie meal a week. When it comes to food, I'm very much 80%, 20% rule, which is a very common rule, which is 80% of my food is whole foods. As I say, I'm an ingredients household. So if you go into my cupboards, you're not going to find the full product. You're going to find like 25 tins of chopped tomatoes, and then in the fridge it's just veg, meat, and that's really it. And I just throw it all together and make something. However, I'm a big believer in 20% of your food should be delicious and maybe not the most nutritious. Not that my 80% of my food isn't delicious, but the things that are convenient, I can just grab and go, I don't really have to think much about, and I'm a big believer in that. So the way I approach food day to day is 80%, 20%. I will maintain that. That's something I find very easy to maintain. But with regards to this, it's worth noting that, because that's why I'm a big fan of like recipes or cooking, because I'm creating a product out of something that otherwise is just a load of things thrown together. In tandem with that, I'm very strict when it comes to the food budget. I'm also very strict when it comes to the food shop. I will only purchase the amount of something I genuinely need. If it's something like a bag of carrots, I will ensure that all those carrots are incorporated into a recipe throughout the week or into dinners throughout the week. I'm not a huge fan of food waste, not that anyone really is. We have a lot of food poverty. It feels uncomfortable to just throw away something that is a very hot commodity, which it shouldn't be described as that because it's a basic human right. But my plan is to just ensure that I'm still reducing food wastage, but also equally by planning it so thoroughly, I ensure that we stay within budget. So for the two of us, it's a £75 budget per week on food. I always come in just under budget, but it just genuinely depends on what we have to buy that week. Speaking on finance, that is my next thing that I would like to improve, which is I had started the year off trying to become more financially literate. I think more often than not, we're not very financially literate. It depends what your family were like. Did they communicate about funds? Did they communicate about money, how to plan better with money, how to save? Maybe you need to invest and you have that financial income to be able to do so. And what I'm trying to do now is work more on gaining more financial literacy to be able to create a savings or a buffer or an emergency fund, or alternatively to be able to invest money to just keep myself as comfortable as possible. I am going to work on a monthly financial video where I go through everything throughout the month prior. In addition to that, I am setting savings, investments, or paying off, because I still have my student overdraft, even though I'm 30. Although I did do a master's, so I kind of needed it for that. And I finished that a year ago. So maybe I can still validate it, but I don't think I can. And I need to pay that off. So it's trying to reconfigure my finances to be able to attack all of those things as quickly as possible, but then make it a habit that sticks and improve on it. I have historically, at the beginning of the year, I started doing no spend days all over YouTube, one of my favorite things. I'd like to bring them back. At first it was, I think it was 10 days, then it was 14 days, so 50% of the month I was saving. I'd like to bring that back, so that will be assessed in the financial video. It means that when I do have to spend money, I just have to look on one day. I just have to look at a day where maybe I don't have anything on, or I can avoid spending, and that works better for me. You do notice you save because you're not spending as flippantly. And I am a queen of overconsumption of certain things. Once I like it, I want to do it. If it costs, then I'm going to spend all the money on it, which is why with this and everything else I discuss, it's the least cost impactful options I'm going to pick at all times. There was other things that we're saving for. We got engaged last year, which was gorge, and I would like to get married in 2028. We equally would like to buy a house. We currently rent. However, there's just not as much stability there, and we need to look to buy. So amongst all of these things in terms of finance, that's what we're looking, I say we, but that's what I'm looking to build up savings towards. I will, however, do a monthly, as I've mentioned, a monthly financial recap. It'll be able to show you as transparently as possible where I'm up to, what it looks like. Is there months where things are more cost impactful, or alternatively, am I managing to save more? Number 4 is interpersonal relationships. I am incredibly privileged that I have a wonderful partner, a very tight-knit family. I have very good friends, but I have relocated to a new place. And sometimes I think I'm a bit of an introvert, but more often than not, I think I really enjoy the company of other people. And my friends have been some of the most enriching relationships I've had up until this point. However, what I find is with getting older, etc., people's priorities and things like that change, and I'm completely appreciative of that, because I do think I'm someone whose priorities have changed because I've had a very transformative year, and I'm trying to look for people who can be my friend, basically. I'm trying to figure out the best way to do this. This one's a little bit more complex because although I can sit here and do this, I just don't think I'm very good with people. I've always said this, I think I'm a little bit too shy. I fumble, or I can be a little bit too wordy, or maybe not say enough, or I can come across as cold, but when actually I'm just really anxious and I don't know what to say. So I'm trying to find other opportunities to meet people. Now the beauty of it is I run, so I can go to a run club. Before we moved, I did go to a run club to try and meet like-minded people or friends. It was the first time I went. I kind of kept myself to myself. I take a little bit of warming up. Don't we all? Don't we all though? I mean, some people don't, and I'm so jealous. In the best way possible, I'm jealous of them. But I do think it's a skill. I think socialising is a massive skill, but I just feel so good off the back of it. So I'm gonna go to a run club locally. I've been looking at some, so when I do my month in review, I will have gone, Miss Brennan, you will have gone to a run club. If you haven't, well, you've let yourself down, and that's okay. That's okay. But it's something that has been on my mind for at least the last year, is just meeting new people, making new friends, building those kind of relationships now that I'm 30 and I maybe know myself a little bit better. But also alternatively, I still have a lot to learn, and how can you learn that without meeting new people that have different perspectives on things or understandings of things. As I mentioned previously, there's a pottery painting place that has an event once a month. I'm going to go to that on my own. I spoke with the lady and said I'd be coming on my own. I've literally just moved. How sociable is it? Would I be able to meet people? And she assured me that even if I was a little bit lonely, she would sit with me, which makes me feel good. And she was wonderful, by the way. And also, in addition, that it is very sociable, that they've had people come there and they end up sat on a table with a load of other people, and that makes me feel really good. And it combines two things. It's a creative hobby and it's also interpersonal relationships. So that would be like a 2-for-1. I'd love the convenience of that. However, if people have other ways of making friends in your 30s, please let me know. Like, sometimes I just want to like walk up to people and go, hello, do you want to be my friend? But I just don't know how, and I don't have the courage to do that. I'm trying to be more courageous, but I just don't have the courage to do that. So if anyone has a suggestion, please tell me how. Please, I'm desperate. And finally, I want to look at my environment. So I've just moved. There are areas that require improvement. This is probably one of the most put together rooms. These are my plants. I love my plants. I need to improve certain things. Our garden looks like a little wilderness, which love, great for the bees, great for all of the critters and the boogs, but it needs to look a little bit nicer. It's summer. We are very privileged to have bifold doors that open up into this beautiful garden that looks like a forest in the best way, but it just needs a little bit of tidying. So that's one of my big projects. We also have this wall here, which I will hopefully insert a video here of what it looks like a bit closer up. This wall here is meant to be a picture wall. We, as a couple, collect tea towels from places, or people gift us tea towels from places, and we frame them and put them on the wall. It's been something we've been doing for at least the last year and a half. I really love it because you get gifted these really beautiful tea towels, and then I'll use it on a plate with tomato sauce on it, and then it'll go red, and then I'll just want a bit. So it's like the best way to get art on your walls, and it's gifts from people. So I want to build up that wall. We have a spare room upstairs, which is great space. We have family that don't live in the area or live quite far away, so it's great to accommodate them staying. But at the moment, and I should insert a video here, at the moment it is boxes and suitcases and maybe like a shoe here and there, and a clothing rail that we use for coats, and it just looks a bit worse for wear. I feel like we've been here long enough that could do with getting tacked. So that is something environment-wise I want to work on. And then finally is the office. So I can work from home from time to time. And with that, we created the office for me. It was the room I got to pick, so it came out pink because I love the colour pink. And it is still just a bit bare. It has a little bit of art on the walls, some art on the floor. It has a nice rug, but if you were to walk into the room, you're a bit like, oh, it's just a desk. And that's great, but I want to make it like warmer, but then also still somewhere where I can do work. I want to work on that. These are down the road long-term goals, and it will be like a little bit each day will improve it. So it might be that I am, sorry, I just saw a wasp. I saw a wasp. I have no issues with wasps, but they're just so aggressive. But with regards to the garden, it might just be that I mow the lawn one weekend, or with regards to the picture wall, it might be that we've just come back from Italy and we've got some nice tea towels to gift, but also for ourselves. So it might be that I just go and get a frame from a charity shop for that and get one of them up. It's very little, and again, has to be done as affordably as possible. With regards to the spare room upstairs, we have to get a bed for it. We have to furnish it a little bit, so that would be a gradual long-term project. But in terms of the short-term stuff, because we have moved and I haven't really settled, I need to sort my clothes. They're just shoved into like 25 drawers, and that just doesn't work for me. And then with regards to the kitchen, which I'm pointing at, but you can't really see, I'm very good usually at keeping my spices in the right jars, but right now I've got all my spice jars, and then I've got all the ones that I've bought from a shop that are like, this is a cumin, and I won't put it in the pot because I'm being lazy. So they're the more smaller, more obtainable, so I will handle one of those things a week, and that you'll see during weekly vlogs. So I'm just trying to improve, enhance my environment. I live here, I work from here sometimes. I love being here. I want it to feel like a home, but I also want it to feel clean and tidy. I'm that girl that hoovers 4 times a day. So I'd like to not just hide things in cupboards, because I'm telling you, I hide things in cupboards. What I want to look at is how I'm going to track this almost. Now, can't stress enough, this is not I must do all these things, otherwise the world will end, and I've not improved my life in this. Like, just sitting here doing this is doing better than I was half an hour ago or an hour ago, because this is something creative. So I am doing it, but I'm not going to hold myself to these things consistently, because I want them to be attainable and I want them to be manageable, and I want to be able to enjoy it. Even if I don't enjoy something, I'll try it again a few times. Once it's no longer enjoyable and I've tried it a few times and it might not have just been my mood or the weather or how I put my shoes on that morning, then I will drop those things because they just don't work for me, they don't serve me. So if at any point any of these things don't serve me, I will advise you, I will tell you why, and I will inevitably stop them. It sounds like I'm top heavy in myself a little bit, but I can't stress enough that these are all quite small when you look at them as what I will do week by week. So with regards to that, my plan is to fill my week, to highlight these areas, which would be hobbies, food, finances, environments, interpersonal relationships, and what I'm doing to move them forward even by 1%. And so therefore, it might be you see everything in 1 week, or it might be alternatively 1 week's just focused on one thing, because this isn't like I will do everything multiple times a week. This is, I will try and do these things at least once a week, even if it's only a minute of it. And that's what I intend to document. Hopefully it goes well. Hopefully I enjoy some of it. I'm hoping I enjoy this. And hopefully you'll follow along.